Hey everyone, it's time to review the next episode of Star Wars Acolyte. We'll be reviewing the second episode today, and overall, this one tried to build suspense. Honestly, not a lot happened in this one, but we're getting a little bit more information about some of our characters, and there was some interesting information revealed. So, for the most part, it all takes place on just one planet, essentially. And in this place, I think one of the most interesting details is that we get another Jedi temple. It's not the main one, it's not a big one, but it's a Jedi temple. And this detail proves that this show could take liberties in having Jedi temples across the galaxy, which could be really cool. Now, even though this show doesn't take place all that long before the Phantom Menace, what that means is whether or not we get Tenebris or Plagueis or young Palpatine or someone else in this series, if there are multiple Jedi temples across the galaxy, we could get some really neat content seeing Sith destroy whole temples across the galaxy. So that could be really cool if that's used later on. In this episode, Master Torben is the Jedi being hunted by May. And then we now know she has a list of Jedi she needs to kill. And we know that Kelnaka is next. This is going to be our Wookiee Jedi for this series. And although she's trying to figure out how to kill Master Torben, he's taken the Barrage Vow. Now, I'm not privy to enough information to know if the Barrage Vow was in the Legends before. I know it's in some content in canon. Regardless, it's interesting to see that concept brought into the series now. And while we have our characters, Soul and his crew, trying to figure out who May is, where May is, and then who her master would be, they're spying on May and Kamir, if I'm saying it right. They're being spied on by the Jedi to reveal anything they can. They're just waiting for something to be exposed. So, as far as our Jedi are waiting around, there's a lot of waiting around in this episode, but we do get to see the same pattern that the first episode had as far as decision making, moving on from one thing to the next quickly without anything being dragged on too long than it needed to. So, for example, while they're waiting, May does in fact go into the temple, and ultimately she does succeed in killing Master Torben. While the Jedi are investigating this, Osha is actually found with Master Torben's body. Some of the people there want to jump to conclusions and assume she killed him. This is a story that I thought would drag on longer, but Yord, he comes in to save the day, proving that he saw her the whole time and she's not the one that killed him. So this is another piece of the story that could be dragged on forever, that was just brushed over, and we can move on with the story. So I like that. That was really neat. With this episode, we now know that Kamir and May are going to be taken off. They're in search of Master Kelnaka right now. But before they can escape, after the Jedi have waited, they question Kamir, they confront May, and in this episode, we now get to realize that when Osha comes face to face with May, just briefly, that we're under the impression that May didn't know Osha was alive. As we know, it's the other way around. Osha didn't know May was alive until, well, the beginning of the series, essentially. And so it's really interesting because neither one of them knew that the other was around. So one is essentially taking the light and the dark side of the Force. That's their paths. Even though Osha did walk away from being a Jedi, we know from characters like Ahsoka, partially Cal Kestis, even Kanan Jarrus, we know that people that walk away from being a Jedi, if they're going to be main characters, they're more than likely going to become a Jedi again. That's what I'm going to assume for Osha in the series. May will be, the dark side pupil, and I think their fight is going to be the ultimate showdown in this series. Regardless, this episode gave us more information about the stranger, this new master, his plan. So we're learning more about that. In the final shot, we actually get a good look at Master Kelnaka. So we'll see what ends up happening with the next one. But it's interesting because there's so many parts in this. There's a heavyweight Jedi, which is kind of a first. So that was a guy like me likes to see a guy like that. So we have that kind of a Jedi. We have Jedi that are jumping to conclusions. We have Jedi like Yord who's sticking up for the truth, whether he likes people or not. Master Soul, who's just on his own path, which when he confronts May, I liked that he was able to hold his own without the need of a lightsaber. That was another detail I found really interesting. That proves why Soul is a Jedi Master. So all in all, there wasn't a whole lot that happened, but as I said, we get more information, a little bit more about Osha and May, this Jedi Temple now, and a little bit about the Stranger's plan. As the credits, or not credits, the subtitles, when the Stranger spoke in the end of episode 1, it was called the Stranger. That's what he's being called for this series. So, this was an interesting episode. It wasn't the most exciting, but we got more information, and we'll see where the next episode takes us. I can't wait to review it. I have seen the rest, so I'm just trying not to spoil for people watching a little bit at a time. So I'll be reviewing the next one shortly. Thank you guys for sticking with me. If you've watched the first one or now watching the second, I look forward to reviewing the rest of it so you can see the whole season so far. Keep it digging, everyone.